Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships and Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are back on the path to the Baltimore. And we've already done tier 3 and 4, which means we can only be on tier number 5. Which means we finally get to the heavy cruisers, guys. Pensacola is the first heavy cruiser of the line, and our build changes a little bit. So with that being said, let's look at our commander. We are using Azure Lane Baltimore as our commander, with Norman Scott as an inspiration and Isiroko Yamamoto. Now, a lot of people were asking me about the other build, like, or if you do not have Azure Lane Scharnhorst for the previous, like, a Norman Scott build, then go with, like, Philip Vian for that increased shot dispersion against you, okay? So, that's what I would do. Now, for this, I prefer Azure Lane Baltimore because it has this skill right here, the Absolute Ammunition skill. It decreases time taken for the shells to explode, which means you're more likely to Citadel cruisers, which these American shells tend to overpin. So keep that in mind. It is pretty nice. But if you do not have Azure Lane Baltimore, you can still use the Norman Scott build. And like I said, if you don't have Azure Lane Scharnhorst as an inspiration, go with like Philip Vian. But otherwise, you can run this exact build on the Norman Scott. Okay? So, we've got her base trait, which is rudder shift time, so you're more agile. And then, of course, you've got Beyond Range, Igniter, Absolute Ammunition, which we already talked about, and Fixated. And we run fully packed on our American heavy cruisers. Okay? Got to get, because when you, especially when you get to the Balti, you get that heal, you get the radar. Having fully packed is huge. Okay? But the only difference between this build on Azure Lane Baltimore and Norman Scott is Norman Scott you would take punch through because you do not have absolute ammunition. Everything else is the same. Okay? So, let's look at our equipment. Whoops. Yeah, Aiming Systems Mod 1, and we have Steering Gears Mod 2. I prefer being able to get this thing steering a lot better than go for the propulsion mod. Propulsion mod's good as well, especially for when you're getting shot at by battleships. But being able to just turn this ship really, really nicely helps in those situations where you're being aggressive and suddenly you have to dodge torpedoes. So keep that in mind. We are fully upgraded. We do have the sonar consumable as well as catapult fighter. We are running a couple boosters, but don't worry about those. They don't affect the actual ship stats at all, just how much I earn. Community contributor flag, and the reason for that is because I usually run this in arena. Community contributor flag and the Stars and Stripes permanent camo that you got from the Bureau project. There are a couple other ones as well, like might as well look at it. We've got, this is the what do you call it, the authentic camo or whatever, and then of course we've got this one, which I think is actually not too bad. And it's from the space thingamajig. But that being said, I still prefer the Stars and Stripes. It's just sexy. Okay? Alright, so moving on to stats. We have 32,700 hit points. We finally get some torpedo reduction, but it's only 4%, so you basically have no torpedo reduction. So keep yourself agile, avoid the torpedoes, don't take torpedoes. Artillery. You have 203mm Mark 14 Mod 2s, which gives you a 2x2 configuration, which is 4 guns. You have one of those at the front, one of those at the rear. And then you have the 203mm Mark 14 Mod 1s that are triple turrets that you have one at the front of the ship and one at the rear. So you have a 10 total guns of American 8-inch absolute just domination. Firing range is only 16.1 with this build, which is not preferable. But it is what it is. 15-second reload time. Again, not particularly amazing. But the biggest downside, honestly, other than the Citadel, is 180-degree turn time on these turrets is 45 seconds. That is worse than most battleships, okay? That's awful. So you end up using your ship to turn the turrets a lot. We'll go over that in the game as well. HE shell maximum damage of 2,800 with a 17% chance to set fires, and AP shell maximum damage of 4,600. Secondaries, you have 127mm Mark 19s, you have 8 of those, that reach out to 4.7 kilometers and reload every 4.5 seconds, and they have HE with a maximum damage of 1800 and a 12% chance to set fires. Yeah, you read that correctly. You have eight 127 millimeter guns. That is literally half the firepower of an Atlanta, or more firepower than a Mayhem, or even a Benson. Does the Benson get the double turrets yet? I don't remember. I don't think it does. So yeah, I think they have 5 guns, right? So 5 guns on like your Fletcher and Benson, and we have 8 guns that are the same size. So but the downside is you basically have a Benson on either side of your ship. You have four 127 millimeter secondaries on either side of your ship, and they reloaded 4.5 seconds. It's pretty solid. All right, AA defense. You have 20 millimeter Ehrlichen Mark IVs that you have 17 of. They do 61 damage per second and reach out to 2 kilometers. Then you have the 40 millimeter Bofors Mark II. You have 24 of those that do 95 damage per second and reach out to 3.5 kilometers. Then you have the 127 millimeter Mark 19 Mod 6s. You have 8 of those, and they do 58 damage per second and reach out to 4.2 kilometers. Okay, the AA on this ship, not too shabby. Still not quite as good as it should be, but not too shabby. Maneuverability. Maximum speed, 32.5 knots with a 620 meter turning circle, and the rudder shift is just 5.2 seconds. Concealment. Detectability by sea is 11.2 kilometers. Detectability by air is 7 kilometers. Guaranteed is always 2, and the detectability while firing in smoke is 6.5 kilometers. Armor. This is where you're going to start seeing the improvements in this line. Not only do you have big guns and you get to use those guns and a lot of them, but, whoops, hitting all the wrong buttons. But you also have armor, and this is a double-edged sword. Why is it a double-edged sword? Because the Pensacola has enough armor to arm battleships' guns, which means you take a lot of citadels in this ship from any angle, which is why it has been nicknamed by me the Floating Citadel of Sadness. This thing is such a good ship, as long as you don't get touched by battleships. That's the only downside. Everything else, domination. So yeah, let's take a look at it. You have 16 millimeters of bow plating. I don't remember exactly what it takes to go through 16. I want to say it's 142 millimeters, something like that. Try it again. Try again. It's more than that. It's crap. I forget. To go through 16 millimeters of plating, I could probably, let me just pull it up real quick on my phone. Calculator, 16 times 14.3 gives you 228.8 millimeter guns to overmatch your bow. So keep that in mind. There is one cruiser that I can think of that has big enough guns, and that is the Cheshire. It has like 240 millimeter guns, or 234s, something like that. It's big enough. All right. But yeah, get rid of that. Let's look at the citadel of this thing, and you can start to see why it is absolutely called the Floating Citadel of Sadness. If you take a penetration from a battleship in the bow, there is almost no room between the bow and your citadel. Then you have this nice chunk of citadel sticking up above the waterline, so if you over-angle and you take a penetration, or you take a penetration through the upper side plating, you're getting citadel. And then if you look at the back, you have basically no room between the rear of the citadel and the rear of the ship. So if you take a penetration through the back, you get citadel. And it's huge, so if you take a penetration anywhere on the deck of this ship, you're probably going to get citadel. Which is why this thing is called the Floating Citadel of Sadness. It can bounce rounds, and it actually can be very tanky against cruisers. But battleships, you just avoid the shells at all costs, because if you take a single shell, half your health is gone. Generally. So keep that in mind. Overview. Sticky shot. Reduced ricochet chance. Greater chance of penetrating enemy ship armor at sharper angles. That's the American armor piercing bonus. Guns aplenty. A high number of guns allows for a lot of damage from a single salvo. Again, you have 10 guns total, which allows you to have a higher broadside than the New Orleans and the Baltimore. So keep that in mind. This thing is nasty. You can easily Citadel battleships at its tier if they give you a broadside at close range. You don't generally want to get that close, because if you get that close, guess what? They can Citadel you as well very easily. Compromising. This is the one downside. Higher caliber AP shells may overpin, which is unlikely, but may still arm depending on shell velocity. Just count on them arming. They almost always do. Pensacola, the first U.S. Navy cruiser built under the limitations of the Washington Naval Treaty, with powerful artillery but weak armor, which was characteristic of such ships. The cruiser was armed with 203mm main guns, on the basis of which she was redesignated as a heavy cruiser soon after commissioning. However, the ship's armor actually corresponded to that of a light cruiser. She entered service in 1930, and there were 2 of them in the series. And as always, if you can name the Pensacola sister ship, I'll pin you. If you're the first. Obviously, I can't pin everybody. So, let's take a look at this gorgeous ship. It's a good-looking ship. You can start to see the nice little speed bow where the bow actually angles up. The Pensacola is a little on the slow side, but that's mainly because it's going to be an escort for carriers. And they're pretty much limiting all the ships, with the exception of destroyers, to right around 32 knots. So, other than that, she's a good-looking ship, man, and she's a phenomenal ship as long as you avoid the battleship's guns. You can punish battleships, you can punish cruisers, you can punish destroyers. You can also be punished very quickly. So if you, let's get to the gameplay. Alright, so we're going to show you guys 2 different games in the Pensacola. You guys seem to enjoy when I do double features, so you might see more of them going forward. But it's not going to be an everyday thing to do a double feature, just because there's a lot of work. You got to get 2 good games to showcase everybody. It's hard enough getting 1 good game sometimes. But no, we're going to be in the Pensacola. We're going to showcase 2 games for one pretty good reason. One, I want to showcase, you know, the hitting power, also the weaknesses of the ship, and against battleships. And then the other one is just going to show the Pensacola being absolutely dominating in a match that you just salivate over if you're in a Pensacola. So, yeah, we'll showcase the battleship one first, and then we'll showcase the absolute, like, just punishing game that we put up in the next part of the video. But hopefully you guys are enjoying. I know a lot of people like the Path 2 series. I'm trying to do as much as I can to get you guys videos that you want to see, as well as helping people as much as I can. Obviously, can't do everything for everybody, but the more I try to help everybody, the better it makes the game for all of us. Because if we can get our teammates, you know, to be semi-competent, that's only a good thing, right? I know I'm not the best player in the world, never claimed to be, but I'm better than a good chunk of the population of players. So, you know, if I can help people learn the game, at least the basics, then everybody will be better off. So we're going to push into our camp initially. We're going to use the island because we don't know what's over here yet, okay? And in the Pensacola, you do not want to be the first thing spotted, because everybody just salivates when they see a Pensacola, because they know it's Citadel City. Every battleship on the map will shoot at you. Why? Because floating Citadel of Sadness, okay? That's why. Now, we get a Pensacola spotted, we get an Ishmael spotted. We're going to take a shot at the Ishmael early. This armor piercing from this angle, or from this distance, is likely to not be as effective as we would like. It's still going to do a decent little bit, a couple overpins. We have to aim high at this range, just due to the fact of the funky angle that they're going to come in on. But you're going to see I'm going to post up. I'm going to just kind of peek out and take some shots at this Ishmael. We've got the front guns past him. We're able to fire the front guns and not have to worry about getting shot back because we don't get detected. And you can see when they do hit where you need them to. I mean, that was 3,000 damage right there. So it is pretty effective, even against battleships at medium range. Still pretty solid to use the AP, which is why for the Pensacola, the New Orleans, and the Balti, you're going to be shooting AP more often than not. It is that good. Now here we take a shot at the Pensacola. He's angled really well that we should be able to pin him, but he throws that thing in reverse and gets out of there. We've got, I believe, a King George that has decided to go in front of the island, and he's spotting for us, but he's also sitting broadside to a Pensacola and an Ishmael, and to everybody at the center of the map. Remember, this is Greece. It's a small map. Every battleship on the board can literally shoot across the map. So you've got to be paying attention to crossfires on this map or you will have a bad time. Now Pensacola comes out. We're going to go ahead and take that shot. Again, using island cover to maintain our concealment, but he sees the shells coming. He turns out, avoids them. Unfortunate. But you can see our battleship, King George here, is getting punished from the mid, which is to be expected. Then Pensacola is actually going to turn out here. Makes himself a really, really juicy target here. Not gonna lie. Anytime you see somebody, and I'm a very good target for him back, but when I'm shooting first, you know, he's got to be in evasive maneuvers, and he actually turned inside of those shells, and that's unfortunate. Now the King George does get a hit on him. Doesn't do much damage. Hits towards the rear, and he's shooting HE because King George. That's all anybody ever shoots out of it. While it is very good HE, if you're shooting at cruisers, or if you've got a broadside battleship to shoot at, load that armor piercing, man. You will not be disappointed. But, again, I can understand shooting HE, but this man has lost all of his hit points. Now, I'm trying to get close enough to give him some will to rebuild, but you can see he's sailing away from me. So I'm just like, well, screw it. I ain't going to spend my entire time chasing him. If I go with him, we don't have a crossfire on these guys. Now, I see the Ishmael coming out. You can see I tell the King George to focus him, and I will try to deal with the Pensacola. Now, I know for a fact that I can absolutely citadel the snot out of this Ishmael if we get close. So that's what I'm going to try to do, but I'm also going to be seeing the Pensacola push out, and I'm going to try to get rid of the Pensacola while he's giving me side. Okay, I can absolutely rip this man apart right now from this angle. So that's what I'm going for. First shot, not a very good one. We hit towards the back, get 2 penetrations, but not a whole lot. But then we stay bow in, and look at this juicy angle. Now, obviously, Ishmael's kind of blocking us a little bit, but we're going to be able to sneak this in there and get a couple overpins on him, unfortunately. But you can only play with RNG for so long, Pensacola. You've played around long enough. Wait for it, and fire the guns. There we go. 2 citadels that time. And now that he's very low health, this is when the freaking King George decides to shoot the Pensacola. And he gets the kill for it. I was just about to shoot him, and you can see I shoot one gun, and then I shoot the front gun to test, and we get 3 citadels. All 3 rounds went right to the citadel, and of course that gives me the green light to just swing the rear end around and hit him with 5 more. And sure enough, we get 3 more citadels, and down he goes. So do not sleep on the armor piercing of the Pensacola if you're in a battleship. If they close the distance and you give them broadside, you can be citadel by these ships. They are nasty. Low-tier battleships are not thick enough, with the exception of maybe California, to avoid getting citadeled by the Pensacola, especially the Russian battleships. Russian battleships have no chance. Okay? The only hope that you have is that you dev strike a Pensacola before he closes the distance, because he reloads twice as fast as you, and he's going to be more accurate, and he's going to be able to citadel you multiple times per shot. So you do not want a Pensacola get your broadside in a battleship at close range. Now, obviously, their destroyer moved into our cap. We've got our sonar running right now, which is going to spot those torpedoes, so the King George should be able to survive. I'm going to push up and try to find this man. Now, obviously, we saw the destroyer torpedoes coming from the left side of the cap, so we're going to head over there. Now, I am still spotted, and then I go dark. He's still in the cap. Where is the only place in the cap that he could possibly be and not be spotting me right now? He went behind the island, correct? That's the only possible explanation. Now, knowing that my sonar is about to be going down shortly, I'm going to go ahead and put up my plane. I want to try to spot this guy before he's able to, slip away. I want to know where he's going. Now, I assume that he's coming back across the island, and I was really hoping to catch this guy slipping. But as we've shown in this video, you don't always just wait for your guns. Sometimes you have to maneuver your ship to get the guns on target. When you have really slow gun traverse, as a battleship captain, you get used to it after a while. You know that, okay, my rear guns are going to take 40 seconds to get here, so I'm going to go ahead and start turning and then cut that time in half because they only have to go half the distance. So, you know, those are the things that you got to learn to do when you have this. The Balti has much better turret traverse, and the New Orleans is slightly better as well. So this is just one of those downsides, which is a balancing factor. And of course, we've already got the HE loaded, and this Fubuki's about to get touched. You can see we actually outturn our guns and had to take an extra second to aim them correctly. We get 9 penetrations with American 8-inch high explosive. Absolutely smashed that man. Now, obviously, we're anticipating torpedoes. We don't have our sonar, but we figure he was probably launching his torpedoes, and look, all 9 of his torpedoes go screaming past us. It's a shame that he had to launch them immediately upon my spotting, right? Made them very easy to dodge. Very predictable. Most people are. And so we're just charging the screen. He knows that he's screwed. He's shooting his guns at me. If he shoots his guns again, he's going to get detected. But he doesn't actually shoot his guns until he's about to be detected anyway. 2 kilometers away, guaranteed acquisition kicks in, and down he goes. So we didn't have an amazing game there, but we had a pretty solid, you know, win your side, hold your side, and actually punch a battleship right in the mouth for giving a broadside at close range. 56,000 damage done, not too shabby. Now, we're going to move on to Haven. Now, this is the match that you dream of in a Pensacola. Look at this team layout. There's a destroyer, there's, 2 destroyers, there's a whole bunch of cruisers, there's only a single battleship, and it's a French battleship. And on top of that, they have a carrier. This is the stuff dreams are made of in the Pensacola. This is where you literally just go straight at everybody that spawns near you. Once you know where the battleship is, it's GG. Because I'm not afraid of any cruisers in this thing. I'm not afraid of a destroyer. And the battleship, if you know where he's at, isn't that scary either. But we're going to push right up this right side. Now, I spawn right next to another Pensacola. And between the 2 of us, we are going to thoroughly dominate this side of the match. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. The carrier's going to try to kill us. He's going to fail miserably. It's going to be great, guys. I hope you're ready. This is going to showcase just how nasty the Pensacola can be. Now, remember, we've got armor piercing loaded right off the bat, right? There's a Normandy spotted at 16 kilometers, 15 and a half by the time we actually fire the guns. We're going to take that shot. We're going to go dark very shortly thereafter because of the island cover. And so we get away with taking a shot and getting basically no scariness against us. Now, we get a couple overpins and only 920 damage, but, you know, that's 920 damage we didn't have before. Now, obviously, we've got our plane up to help us spot. We are anticipating people pushing towards us. So our plane immediately spots people. We're able to go out. I guess the plane didn't spot them. I guess somebody else spotted them. But either way, we've got an Omaha here, and I am already starting to turn out. Why am I turning out, guys? Because the Omaha has torpedoes, and that's when the Emile Breton gets spotted. Hello, sunshine. Wait for it. Now, he's angled pretty well to us. But it doesn't matter because we're going to punch through and we're going to get a citadel anyway. That is the improved penetration angles that we talk about in the American armor piercing. Now, obviously, you can see I'm outrunning the torpedo trying to avoid that hit, and the carrier gets nothing for it. We get 3 planes shot down, plus our fighter shot 1 down, and then the Omaha decides to take his chances, and we're going to punch him right in the mouth. Pow! Just gone. Get off my screen, as Aaron would say. 6 citadels, depth strike, goodbye Omaha. Don't know what you were thinking, but you were wrong. And then the Emile's like, oh my god, this guy is on fire. We got to get out of here. It's a little late for that, and yeah, that's going to hurt. Yep, get another citadel on him. Target penetrated. And remember, we're not the only ones here, right? There's another Pensacola here next to me. So he takes a shot, and he gets a couple penetrations on the Emile as well. And then we take the front 3, and we fire him again. He's angled pretty well, but it doesn't matter because, once again, the improved penetration angles allow us to chunk him regardless. The other Pensacola takes a shot with HE, or maybe that was the destroyer, but He starts to turn out away from the island, and at this point, it's just a given that he's not long for this world. We hit towards the back. Not a very good shot that time. The other Pensacola takes most of his health. He's on fire, but we're not going to let him get away. We're going to go ahead and take that for ourselves. That's our second kill of the game. Now, there's a furry taco up here that we've got to pay attention to. He's got 203mm guns as well, so don't want to be messing around with him. He can also punch us pretty hard. And then the Devonshire comes around the corner, and he's going to showcase why people do the things they do is beyond me. Now, he starts out the fight very well, right? But then he's going to do something completely and utterly ridiculous. He's going to go broadside to 2 Pensacola's. He gets absolutely touched by the guy that's lagging behind me. I think his name is Arctic Arcane or something like that. He's in a great position because he was able to snipe this guy before I was. And then, of course, we're going to be able to get a shot in there. And the first shot wasn't very good. Second shot, much better. Managed to take him down, giving us our 3rd kill. Now, obviously, there's a Fubuki here that we've got to start paying attention to. We've got a battleship and a carrier defending the base against a battleship. I am not in range to see how much health the battleship has, and that's when the Mayhan gets spotted. Now, I don't want to shoot armor piercing at a Mayhan, but I don't really have a choice. It's what's loaded at the time, so we take the shot, and then we immediately switch to high explosive. We are also not able to use our sonar right now, but because the carrier is flying over him as well, he also spots the torpedoes. And then we are able to punch this guy in the mouth and somehow leave him alive. We only got 3 hits on that destroyer right there. But what did we already talk about with the secondaries on this ship? Wait for it. Yoink. Yoink the kill with the secondary. We already said that this thing literally has like an American destroyer on either side of the ship. It's got 4 127mm 5-inch guns on either side of the ship. So, yeah, not something you want to be playing around with in a destroyer. Not only do the main guns absolutely mess you up, but the secondaries will mess you up too. And as you can see, they're pretty accurate. Now, between myself and this other Pensacola, this carrier player is just gonna get his plane shredded. You've got 2 American cruisers that have decent AA, and we're putting up fighters when we need to, or when they're available. And for what? He gets a torpedo hit here on the other Pensacola. But as you can see, I'm going to turn back, and then I'm going to do something. I'm going to ping the map and say that I'm going back to defend the base. That's letting my Pensacola know that he is on his own at this point. Or at least he's got my destroyer, but he's on his own for the most part. Now, obviously, I don't trust my teammate to hold the base. He's winning the fight against the battleship, but we know there's a Fubuki over here headed towards him. So we want to try to help him out. And I also get in chat and let the Tennessee know, once he finished fighting, I was like, hey, just so you know, you've got a Japanese destroyer coming towards you. Be prepared. And he's going to do the right thing. He's going to sail away from the base with the carrier back around that left island. Now, we get the Furry Taco spotted here. And so our battleship's going to be able to take a shot at him, hopefully. And that's when we noticed that just for a split second, our plane had the Fubuki spotted. And he's not going for our base. He's actually trying to loop in behind us. And so we're going to go ahead. We've already got high explosive loaded. We're going to start pushing the issue, and our plane gets him spotted once again. Also spots his torpedoes, and this is why I go for steering gears, guys. Wait for it. Oh, God. Slightly. Got it. Threading the needle. One of the most favorite things to do in this game is dodge torpedoes. It's a butt pucker moment, but at the same time, it's so much fun when you get it right. To watch that just absolute devastation sail right on by you as you slip the gap. But Fubuki, I think he actually ends up giving up here. He realizes that he just screwed up. He missed his only chance to kill me, and now he's broadside on. We take and destroy pretty much everything on a ship, I'm fairly confident, with that first salvo. And in 7 seconds, we're going to do it again. He does try to take off initially, and then he's going to turn all the way back around. You know, if you get the smoke on the left cheek, you've got to turn the other cheek, right? As we set him on fire again, and that's going to do it for this guy. And the secondary, are we going to get another close quarters expert? No. Secondary just slightly misses. But we do finish with a Kraken and 73,000 damage done. This is a solid game. This is absolute domination. We did everything we needed to do. We managed to get rid of everybody on our side of the map between two Pensacola. Two Pensacola's just steamrolled this side of the map. There was an Omaha, there was the Furry Taco, there was the Emile Berton, the Devonshire, and two destroyers came at us, and we just steamrolled them. Wasn't even close. Oh, and they had carrier support. But you may have noticed that the enemy, or the other Pensacola, the Arctic Arcane, or whatever his name is, Arcane something. It's Arcane something. Anyway, he got a Clear Skies medal. Because we were together for so long, he was getting most of the kills. I still got 9 planes shot down. It's not like I wasn't getting planes shot down. This carrier got his planes shredded trying to attack 2 Pensacola's. So you gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. And that's why I say the Pensacola is an incredibly fun ship to play. The only downside is when battleships shoot back at you, you've got to pay attention. You've got to avoid those shells, because if you don't, it's going to be a short game for you. Because those shells almost certainly will find your citadel, and it'll be a bad time. Now here, I'm not going to lie, I got into the chat, I was like, hey guys, don't leave that scumbag alive. Don't leave that carrier alive. Let it go after him. That carrier is not going to win this match for his team. He's just not. So go get him. And to their credit, Destroyer takes off after him. Pensacola's heading in that direction as well. The battleship's going to turn out to try to get him. And of course, the carrier's right there to keep him lit and to try to attack him as well. So this carrier isn't going to live forever. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Again, it's not a ship that I enjoy playing in standard. In arena, when you can guarantee it's nothing but cruisers, there's no cruiser better than the Pensacola at tier 5. But if you're going up against battleships in the Pensacola, it can be a bit frustrating, because it just seems like it's one of those where just as you start rolling, some battleship from 30 kilometers away gets like the best RNG of his life and takes all of your hit points, and then you've got to spend the rest of the match trying to not get hit at all. And the Pensacola is just so much fun to play when you get to be aggressive. And that goes for the New Orleans and the Balti as well. When you get to be aggressive in them, it's so much fun. So much fun. There's nothing like rolling up on a battleship and a cruiser, getting its broadside and just punching him, hitting him for 10,000 or 12,000 damage a salvo, or if you're citadeling him like we did on the Ishmael, hitting for much more than that. 3-4 citadels a salvo, just absolutely punching them as they finish off the carrier. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, man. This was a fun one, surprisingly, to do today, but it was a good one. And I finally got AC in the apartment, so woo! But Kraken Unleashed, we got a close quarters combat, and we got a dev strike. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.